thought, this is fantastic, this concept. Yes, democratizing wealth. What's that all about? How are we going to promote it? And what does it mean? Who can own it?
Yeah. Passion, inspiration, determination. Are you ready to jump into a better life? Welcome to our program, Jump Into It. Welcome to our show. And today we have our guest, Katherine Surgenor, and she is an amazing business leader. She was a senior partner at Ogilvy, one of the global marketing agencies of our time. And she's here to discuss with us women, wealth, the wallet, and cryptocurrency. And this is something that is a question for many women. What is cryptocurrency? Can it lead us to more financial independence? How do we get to learn more about it? How do we benefit from it? And Katherine is going to walk through many of these unknown, mysterious questions that a lot of women have, and also to raise awareness around women's need for financial independence. It is achievable, and sometimes it's just a mindset. So, Katherine, welcome to Jump Into It.
Good morning, Gabrielle. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here and happy to share my experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly, answer any questions, and just have a good time.
Fantastic. So maybe you can get started with just a little bit about yourself and journey and how you got into being so passionate about cryptocurrency and why this has become your mission.
Well, it's evolution has been a part of my life, my career from day one. What I wanted to do when I was in when I finished university never happened. I was blessed to get into advertising and stayed there for the majority of my career. I've had a great career, and I still consider myself a marketer. That's never going to change.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed it thoroughly. And if it wasn't for my advertising career that exposed me as I ran the IBM business and Microsoft businesses as the leads in Canada at two different global agencies, if it wasn't for being exposed to technology and where the future was going and things like artificial intelligence and blockchain, I wouldn't have fallen into cryptocurrency, which of course is inextricably linked to blockchain. So my advertising career did that for me. It allowed me to explore areas that I thought, what's going on? I've always been interested in technology, and that's my specialty. Very quickly, though, because of COVID and a personal situation with my parents in Europe, an emergency, those two aligned, and next thing you know, the world shut down, not only for me, but for everybody.
Right.
So I spent some time educating myself on those things, AI, blockchain, and what is this cryptocurrency thing, and how does it work? And so during COVID, it was a great opportunity to actually hunker down and learn more about the things that were interesting me. And in that time frame, just as we were coming out of COVID, someone found me, a US company found me and offered me a job to work remotely, promoting believe it or not, an online show that was all about empowering people to own different pieces of companies, basically democratizing wealth is what this show was about. And Steve Wozniak was on it, and the former treasurer, head of the Treasury of the United States was on this. It's an online show. And I thought, this is fantastic, this concept. Yes, democratizing wealth. What's that all about? And so what ended up starting as, let's see how we can promote this show and this concept, this same company created a token in cryptocurrency, and I helped launch that. And so next thing you know, this evolution, right? It's like one thing begets another, and here I am now. So I was completely fascinated by the technology behind it and what it means for people. It's like, wow, we can just create a token on the blockchain. Interesting. How are we going to do this? How are we going to promote it? And what does it mean? Who can own it? Yeah.
Money is tangible. Tangible dollar bills and coins are disappearing.
Oh, yeah.
And everything is electronic. Well, you're still able to understand that part of it, right? Because it's, you're still seeing the money move into your bank account. But this token thing,
Yeah.
which is a different unit and it's traded or exchanged differently, how
Right.
does that translate to matching back to that dollar that we're all so familiar with in measuring money?
Well, it's interesting what's happened, and it's an evolution. And credit to Canada for being a first in many in this industry, in this ecosystem, this cryptocurrency ecosystem. Because what's interesting about Bitcoin is its own thing, and we can touch on that and how it's actually evolved. There's an interesting thing that's happened in the last 4 years to Bitcoin that I don't know people might not be aware of. And we can touch on that. But when it comes to, yes, understanding money, fiat, right? Like I get it. How do we, how are we going to transition? Well, the tokens, let's talk about cryptocurrency tokens. There are
Yeah.
several of them. Um, there are tokens that, people talked about. All the rage a little while ago was, non-fungible tokens, right? Things that if you are on Web3 or on Discord and in that environment in Web3 and you were part of a DAO, a decentralized autonomous kind of organization, you could own a piece of something. I have to be honest, that wasn't for me. A
Mhm.
digital painting that I am
Yeah,
going
right.
to,
Right.
right, to
That
use
could trade
my,
for 5,000, 5 million. Like these were crazy prices for
they
something
were,
that was
they,
virtual.
they were, and it's virtual and I can't touch it. And I'm sorry, I'm old
Yeah.
school. I
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah.
Although for creative people, right, it's fantastic. It's like, look, you can own a part of it. And now on the blockchain, there is a smart contract like that says Gabrielle actually owns 2% of this painting. And when it goes up in appreciation, she will benefit from that. So back to Canada initially, what they've done is there is actually is a token tied to our currency. And Canada was the
Hmm.
first to do it. It's in pilot. They haven't talked about it in typical Canadian fashion. We don't go out there and say, look what we've done. We were the first to
Hmm.
do an ETF. We were ahead of the game. So there is this connection of you can buy, the US, if you want the US dollar token with US dollars, and the same with Canadian. So that bridges that whole, fearful part. It's like, oh, I'm gonna spend $100, but it's tied to this token, which is tied to my government, and I feel okay about that. Um, so it's an interesting place to be. To your point, we all understand money, and although it is going away, but let's not forget, think about the last time well, maybe I'm dating myself, last time someone got a paycheck, right? Went to the bank and took out money.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened in decades. And you
Yeah.
don't think about it, right? And that's what's going to happen to us in a few decades or a decade, where,
Yeah.
do you remember when we talked about this thing and then we're all living cryptocurrency? We're all living on the blockchain and we all are living in a decentralized environment and being comfortable with it. So it's a big evolution.
Because the being decentralized and the democracy, all the great words, right? Like, yeah, I want to be on the bandwagon. The
Yep.
big banks are making billions of dollars, and they're not sharing in on the profits unless you buy stocks in that company.
Right.
We're actually seeing, people at the mercy of banks and have more heavily in debt than ever before. And they're, and the interest rates are going through the roof in many different ways. So we become a slave to the industry.
Right.
So, this democracy, it sounds great. I'm excited,
Yep.
but, how is that really going to benefit me as opposed to just putting my money in the bank versus buying a token? Like, where is the big wow and how can it help women?
Well, the thing about it is, you've pegged it bang on, Gabrielle. Like, we have the bank, we have the government, we have the bank, the institutions, and they decide everything for us. If I
Right?
can get them, if I apply for a mortgage and the bank says, well, Catherine, let's see what you're all about, right? And what you
Yeah.
have and what you don't have. And we don't like what you have, or you don't have enough
Mhm.
of this, or you owe the CRA money, or what have you. There's
Mhm.
this figure, right? This
Yeah.
centralized organization called the financial industry and the players in there that really dictate what's happening to us, what can happen to us.
Yeah.
The difference in where we're going is the decentralization of the financial industry, or DeFi. I highly recommend people just literally go on to AI and ask, what is DeFi? What is, tell me everything, etc. Because what the difference is, like, let me use this token that this company that I worked for created. The difference is that, let's take it, it's a real estate token. What these guys decided to do was create a token, and people invested their real money, their fiat, into this company
Mhm.
to own a token, to show that no one can change on the blockchain that Catherine bought 500 tokens. And if there are, 1,000 tokens, then I own 50% of whatever this asset is. They chose real estate. So you can't undo that. The thing about the blockchain and cryptocurrency is someone cannot, once it's in and it's locked, someone can't go in and say, oh, well, actually, you know what? Let's say Catherine only owns 50 of these tokens. Can't be done. It's
You can't dilute, you can't like, or split the stocks or
You
split like,
can't change, yeah,
right?
you can't change anything. You can't
Mhm.
change it. So it's and what's interesting is let's talk about women in startups for a second. So you
Yeah.
have women, right? And I have a phenomenal idea. And this is how traditional finance is different from this decentralized model.
Mhm.
Um, I could go with a wonderful idea, whatever it may be. And the bank again is going to go through that checklist, right? Do you have
Yeah.
this? Do you have that? Do you have the other thing? Well, you know what? How long have you been in business? Is this your first idea? Et cetera, et cetera. In the decentralized world, where you are in a environment, let's say there's one called SheFi, SHEFI. SheFi is on a DAO, on a decentralized autonomous, or it's a decentralized autonomous organization. And it's a community of women, women only. So
Oh,
the point is, I could go in, and if you and I are in that community and we're members and we're working on something, I could raise my hand and say, hey, community of women in our little area here, I have a really great idea. And the point is the entire world can participate in this
is
DAO.
it kind of like crowdfunding? Is it?
Exactly. You've got
Okay.
the
Yeah.
it's exactly like that, right? But what's different is you're not going to have potentially the Canadian government saying, no, you can't contribute to that fund. We're,
Or we're going to freeze it,
we're
right?
going to freeze
We
it,
saw that too. We don't
right?
like your idea. We're going to freeze your bank accounts.
Correct.
Yeah.
Can't do that in this
Mhm.
environment.
Mhm.
You come to me and you say, you know what, Catherine, I have a phenomenal idea, et cetera, et cetera. And, you put out the feelers and you work through it, and people decide, they vote. In this environment, people vote. It's a democracy. People vote and think, that's a really great idea. Hey, gals, should we get behind Gabrielle's idea? That's pretty cool. I think I'm going to put in this much or that much, et cetera. And you don't have to rely on sitting opposite a bank manager, regardless of gender, male, female, regardless of age, and say, hi, can I have some money, please? It's not necessary in this environment. And there's going to be more and more of that, which is
Wow.
great,
Wow, that's
which is great.
exciting. So just because I'm still thinking in the old world,
Yep.
is that the crowdfunding, but now it's going to be through DOO, is that right?
DAO, a
DAO?
decentralized autonomous organization. So each the acronym works beautifully. It explains what it is, which is it's a decentralized model. There is no head honcho. It's autonomous. Each person is independent to contribute, not contribute, voice their opinion. And it is an organization. It is organized within the confines of where we are right now on Web3, actually. That's
So autonomous means also that you don't know who these people are. They're just a number, or they're just like a code or something. They're not sharing their personal information
You
when they're
mean in this environment or
in
with
this environment.
crowdfunding? Well, actually, with I know with a couple of the female organizations, your transaction can't be seen by anybody, but it's not invisible. These are folks like, for instance, just last week I found one. It's called BFF, and again, bunch of women getting together.
Yeah. Interesting.
And
Okay.
you ask to be invited, right? And so they will decide, hey, this looks, oh yeah, you know what? We need a marketer. Let's have Katherine join us. So it's yes, the financial transactions, no one can go in and see, or do anything with them. But the fact that they do know who you are, if you choose to create a DAO on
Mhm.
Web3 to do this with someone, with a group of women.
So if you come up with this amazing idea and I want to fund it,
Mhm.
then how am I compensated? How does that, you know, if your business idea explodes
Mhm.
and I've kind of bought into it with, I've invested in it through cryptocurrency or a token,
Mhm.
how am I, like what if I actually bought here? Like, do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like if I have a house
Mhm.
and I secure, with a bank, they secure a mortgage against my house so that they
Right.
have right? It's tied to an asset that's physical on this planet,
Right.
as opposed to this virtual space. And
Yeah.
do you know what I'm trying to, how
Yeah,
does that all
absolutely.
link together?
Absolutely.
So
No,
yeah.
absolutely. So in the virtual space, and this is why I'd said early on, I'm not a big
Yeah.
fan of NFTs. Again, if I can't wrap my head around what I actually own, I'm not interested. So, but there are
Yeah.
some people who, like I said, there are people that thrive in this space. So I'll give you an example. If you're a songwriter and you wrote a song, and you're part of, this creative community in Web3 where you say, you know what, I want to do an album, and whoever wants to contribute, let me know. I would love that. You can take a piece of the profits when, let's say, Sony Music makes me a star, what have you.
Yeah.
Again, what it is that it doesn't seem tangible, but what happens is once you decide to contribute in fiat or cryptocurrency, because both happen, um, a smart contract that no one can change is created and saved on the blockchain, which is a decentralized ledger. So it will all be connected together. But let's look at real estate because that's the one I love and I think
Mhm.
can
Okay.
can
Yeah.
can benefit from. So if someone says I have 1 million tokens, and well, actually, I will give you the real life example. This is
Okay.
actually
Fabulous.
that's happened. Here's the real life example. This particular company called Unicoin, they have not gone and done an initial coin offering yet. They're waiting to see what Trump does in the United States.
Mm.
They are from day one, they got over 4,000 people who contributed to buy their token. And this is, of course, not on an exchange yet, and that's what they're waiting to do. But they did that. And because in the United States, if you have a certain number, I think it's over 3,000 shareholders or people who are investors, excuse me, you have to register with a SEC, and every quarter you have to comply and give them your numbers. Doesn't matter that you're not on an exchange. Just the sheer numbers of shareholders you have or token holders, it's mandatory. It's part of the SEC. So they
Okay.
have been compliant all along from day one. Their lawyer files it every quarter. You can know what they're doing. And so when they shifted from doing this democratization show, which is a lot like Dragon's Den and Shark Tank, and they decided, you know what, we're gonna do this. This is the future. What happened is they were able to worked on the marketing with them to promote this token, to say this token with every dollar you put in represents actual shares in this hotel in the Philippines.
Okay.
And so when that hotel makes money, so do you. So there's an actual asset tied to this token that is registered with smart contracts on the blockchain that is reported to the SEC. So
Hmm.
it's a completely different way of doing things, but I find that the real estate token idea, it resonated with me. And I think when you and I
Hmm.
spoke the very
Mhm.
first time, you
Mhm.
said, how did you even think, like, why did you do this? And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that, you know, must have not been able to go in on their own and in the past. Things have changed a lot
Yeah.
in my lifetime, but haven't been able to just go in and get a mortgage and buy a house. My sons, both of them tell me, how am I supposed to own anything in this world, right?
Right.
And so the idea of a token backed by real world assets that are reported to the SEC, that's pretty cool.
That's really cool because it gives you transparency because we have seen the cryptocurrency like the casino.
Right.
So, right, it goes up, it goes down. People become instant millionaires, where it's like the toga is 0.0001 cent, and
Yeah.
then it's 2 cents, and they're instant millionaires if they bought so many of them.
Right.
And then the next day it goes down again. So,
Right. And yeah, it's interesting. Those situations actually, that's what media is for, right? To hype all of this up, because
yeah,
in reality, you'd be surprised. Um, the way that, let's talk about Bitcoin for a second, where Bitcoin is, it's up on the rise again. It's like, oh my goodness, this roller coaster. But it's really, honestly, Gabrielle, it's no different than the stock exchange, right? It really, truly isn't. It comes in waves. And things happen in the world and people freak out and people pull out their money because it's like, oh, I don't know if it's going to go any higher. And when that happens, guess what? It drops. It really is because people are behind traditional stocks and finance, and humans are behind this iteration of where we are with finance. It's going to be the same kind of mentality.
mhm,
But you have
mhm.
to remember that those things that were 0.000001 cent and you bought 9 million shares
Yeah, right,
or coins,
right, yes.
um, those rarely, very rarely, the percentage of those doing well, is astronomical. And, I don't advise people to play in that space. Again, not an expert, but
Yeah.
I'm looking at tried and true things that I understand in a simple way as the natural evolution of where we're going. Um, because it's interesting when I look at the targets, when I look at the buckets of people, the research, I did some research and there's a great paper about women actually in this space by the Boston Consulting Group. But when you look at who's in this space, there's the young, geeky guys, the techie guys, right, who just love this. And they're playing in those, things like the fart coin and, Dogecoin and those cryptocurrencies where, frankly, it's fun to play. It's a game for me. I'm not
Yeah.
interested in it.
Like another video game for them.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
love it and they play it and they do these
Yeah.
things called pump and dump on the internet, right? They sit
Yeah, I've heard that term
right?
too.
So
Yeah.
what they do is like,
Yeah.
oh, this is the greatest thing, and they hype it up and they
Yeah.
get all these people excited about it. They go on TikTok, they go on to X,
Twitter.
right? And they sit there
Yeah.
and they talk about how great it is, and people get excited and think, oh, it's that fear of
Okay.
missing out. Oh, I got to be part of this, and then they jack up the price to whatever. Well, they benefit from it because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, once they've made their money, what are they going to do? They're going to cash out the dump
Right.
part, and you're left with, well, where did my money go? That's
Yeah.
what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in anybody doing that. I want my sons doing that.
Mhm.
But that's one group, right? There's
Mhm.
those young, savvy
Yeah.
guys, which is great. And some of them have become millionaires. Fantastic. Good for them. Then
Yeah.
there's a group, and I think you and I talked about it when we first met, about, believe it or not, there's this group of women, smart women who are in this space right now. And they're you know who they are? They're the teachers, they're the nurses, they're the professionals but then again, these are people who have pension funds and understand this world. So this for them is natural evolution. So they're in this space too. That's a second target I found fascinating. The third one, um, the third target, and who's making the money? These men over 60 who
Yeah.
understand this and go,
Yeah.
aha, all over it. I'm going to put 100 grand into this because they have it. And that's
Yeah.
wonderful. And then there's bucket number four, all the rest of us. And
Mhm.
that's who I'm advocating for. That's who I want to educate. That's why I wanted to write my ebook with title still to be determined.
Okay.
Um, I do have a title. I do have a title, but
Okay. Well, when you get it, we can put it on the
yeah, for
podcast
sure.
description. Okay.
So yeah, so as I said, I that's where I want to play. That's where I want to help people. That's where I think people in that last bucket, all genders, all races, all countries, all people in the world. This is moving, and you don't want to get left behind because very much like when we all went from paychecks to direct deposit to ATMs to transferring e-transfer, when did this happen? Like when you think about it, my mom looks at me, she's 87, and said, what has happened in my lifetime? And it's like, yeah, mom, right? And there's more to come.
Right. Like it was a big thing when ATMs just opened up, right? And it's like, oh, I don't go to the teller anymore. I go to an
Right.
ATM. Oh, I was nervous. I
Yeah.
need this card and now look at it's all online banking. I mean, I worked at I did marketing for a bank and it was all pushing them away from the ATMs and the banks and the
Yeah.
bricks and mortars to everybody going online because
Right.
it's a cheap way of servicing.
Exactly. And that's where we're at. And this is the next phase, but it's moving very quickly. That's what's really, really challenging. It's moving very quickly because everyone has a say, because anyone can start a decentralized autonomous organization. I could, you could, by going into, playing in the Web3 space, which is different than where we are right now with the internet. Um, Anyone in the world can start anything at any time with anyone.
Yeah.
And then
So where do you see in the next 5 years this evolving?
I I actually see, and I'm very confident, this is just my prediction. I believe that in the next 5 years, and it's actually frightening to me
Mm.
because when you think about tech, and when I used to work on IBM and look at what they were doing and what was coming, and it didn't matter if we didn't get a campaign out within a 6-month period, it didn't matter the technology change. We couldn't even promote whatever we were promoting. And that was in 6-month intervals. It's interesting because we are going so super fast now that even as writing as I was writing this book, I thought, well, that's not even valid anymore. So I have to edit it because it was valid a month ago. And it's
Yeah.
not anymore because this organization or this group or this individual who I thought was, oh, okay, well, yeah, toast. We're in a complete, like, it keeps moving so quickly. So the good thing is we are in a world where women, and I'm so grateful that this is what's happened, is you would think that women aren't playing in this space, but they are. And I foresee more women recognizing that they can take ownership of their lives, that they are empowered, and will probably create all types of decentralized organizations online. The women who are 18 to 23 now in 5 years are going to be, 23 to 28 and really, moving forward. These are people, younger women who grew up with tablets and the internet when they were born. So they're probably on board. And I see them contributing, and I don't even know, can I tell you how? I just believe that women, the young women of today are going to be integral. The second thing I think we're going to see is financial literacy in this space. I believe historically the educational systems around the world,
It's horrific. It's horrific
or
how.
yeah, it is so pathetic. When my son got his first job, my oldest, I said to him, okay, well, your T4s came in, and he looked at me, he said, well, what do I do with this? I said, it demonstrates how much you've made and how much the government has taken, and you have to do your taxes. Well, how do I do my taxes? And it's like, yeah, guess we don't teach kids in high school how to fill out your taxes. This is what accountants did for my parents, for me in my early years, right? It's so financial literacy, horrific. I don't think you can get away with not educating in this space anymore. There is a university in Cyprus. It's called the University of Nicosia. They offer the very first, from what I understand, and they've been offering free education for the last 10 years. They are offering the very first Masters in Science in cryptocurrency.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
and blockchain.
Yeah.
And they are huge proponents, and they say what everyone says, which is, I hear about how Bitcoin is taking over the world. What the hell? What is it? When did it come by?
Hmm.
Can I take advantage? Everyone else is, becoming wealthy, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So those are the first two things. I think what will change is women will be a more integral part of this. They're not going to stand around anymore. Education is going to be, and I believe it's going to be interesting to see what will happen with Bitcoin specifically. And I say that because just in the last few years, what people see when they see Bitcoin, um, they look at Bitcoin and they think, oh my goodness, this thing is $100,000 now for one Bitcoin.
You're right.
And they
Yeah.
know that BlackRock and Trump, right? It's like we are going to have the biggest repository of cryptocurrency in the US. Well, how are you then different than owning all the gold or keeping gold reserves? So you have cryptocurrency. That's not why this was designed. This is not
Right.
how this was supposed to happen. So
Yeah.
there's already been a rift in Bitcoin that a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people may not be aware of. If you go
Mm-hmm.
online, you go to an exchange, you're going to find BTC if you want to buy Bitcoin, and you can buy little bits, right? You can go to BitBuy, you can go to Coinbase, you can go to Kraken with a K. There are a lot of legitimate, established uh, cur cryptocurrency exchanges now where you can buy a portion. As a matter of fact, on BitBuy, for example, you can link your RBC account, your TD account, et cetera. And if every
Mm-hmm.
paycheck you think, okay, I want to buy some BTC, which is Bitcoin. Um, so you put in $100 from every pay. Are you going to feel, do you feel you're going to be left out? I bet you're going to feel pretty good, even if it's that little bit, which is what I'm telling my sons to do. It's just take,
Yeah.
right? And it will build. Let the world go and do what it's going to do. It's going to build. So, sorry, we were talking about
Yeah,
Bitcoin. And so
yeah.
what's changed? What's changed with Bitcoin? There's also, when you go to an exchange, you can see the other Bitcoin, which is BTH, which is Bitcoin Cash. So what's the difference between the two? And this is why I say things are going to evolve in the next 5 years, because in the last 3 or 4, this has happened. And there's a great book I highly recommend. Let me think. It's called Hijacking Bitcoin. Yes, Hijacking
Okay.
Bitcoin. And it's written by a gentleman named Roger Ver, Ver. Roger Ver has been, cannot enter the United States anymore because he wrote a book. He wrote a book. He's been very vocal since the beginning of Bitcoin about what it should be. And when Bitcoin was created, when the anonymous author Satoshi Nakamoto wrote Bitcoin, the peer-to-peer currency, cryptocurrency model, it was so you and I could go somewhere and I could send you money, no transaction fees. You could send me money via Bitcoin because we would have, and
Yeah,
they were not $100,000 each at the time, right?
yeah,
But what happened is, so now there are two Bitcoin streams. So the Bitcoin, which is BTC, yes, by all means, I'm not saying don't contribute. Go buy a portion. They're called Satoshis. You can buy $100 worth of Bitcoin, which translate into Satoshis, right? They're like pennies of a dollar, let's say. Absolutely, you should do that. That's great. Earlier in the podcast, I praised Canada about being the first country to create the ETF, right? An exchange, like a fund for Bitcoin, which is great. But it was also the very first step to say, we're making this an asset class, not what it was designed to do. We're going to now allow you to buy some. It's going to be a fund, and we created the Bitcoin fund, and you can
yeah,
do all of that.
yeah,
So all of a sudden,
yeah.
this author, Roger Ver, his issue was, wait a minute, you just took something that was created to not be
Right, right.
centralized.
Now you put it in the box like all the others, and now, and
Correct.
I'm imagining taxes come into pay, like, you
Of
have to
course.
pay. So when it
Yeah,
goes up, and you want to cash out, so it falls into the system that we've
yeah,
always had, and
right.
where, as you say, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency was to break away and have a different system.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. That's what's happened. Again, I'm not saying that that women shouldn't participate in this and not buy a portion of Bitcoin, because the estimate for what Bitcoin now, everyone is so happy. It just rallied from 83,000 US or something to 100,000 again, right? It's at that
Mhm.
6 digits. Um, at the beginning of the year, when Trump came in, good, bad, or indifferent, and how people feel
Yeah.
about him, of course, it dropped and all that stuff, but it's on the upswing again. And Bitcoin has shown um, cycles, 4 to 5 years. It goes up, it skyrockets, it drops again, but it continues to go up. It never gets back down to
But
zero.
that's kind of like real estate too. And then, right. And
Mhm.
a lot of this, right,
Yeah,
the Fortune 500 companies, you probably
yeah.
similar trends unless they make a really,
Exactly. That
yeah.
that yeah, again, like I said, and people behaving the way they do when they get to a point where they think, "Oh, I'm going to cash out." Guess what happens? It's exactly like the stock market. Human
Mhm.
behavior, human beings, interacting with these two different financial systems. But now, Bitcoin's been kind of sucked into this. I've seen it being referred
It's
to as
unfortunate. Yeah.
it's digital gold, right? And that's
Yeah.
fine. So take
Yeah.
advantage of it. But when
Yeah.
it comes to other opportunities, if you go and you venture and you learn about what they call projects, and people should go to AI. I tell my sons all the time, you
People
know,
wonder what AI is just a word, right? So there's platforms where AI is driven by. So can you give suggestions, a little more clarity on where they go to get the
well,
answers?
here's how I use AI. I love AI because my youngest son, who's a very creative person, will look at something and he says, I'll say, look at this. And he says, I don't want to see it. It's AI generated. And I said, yeah, I know. Don't freak out. I understand
Yeah.
that. There's plus and minus to everything, right? It's like it's going to take creative jobs. You're not wrong. But it's also, if
Absolutely.
you're a creative person and you have a client, you're also going to deliver quickly. And if the client's willing to pay for something you did quickly and it's fine and you didn't render it on a computer the other way, it you just have
It
to.
saves time, it
Yeah,
increases accuracy,
yeah,
reduces errors. AI it should be a companion and an
I agree.
assistant
Yep,
and not drive,
yeah,
replace humans.
I
It should
agreed. I
complement what the human is doing. But
I I agree. And
yeah.
we're still in that phase, and I'm hoping that
Mhm.
logical, good, human-minded people keep it that way. I will say with AI, how I use it, um, it's funny, I just said to you, I have an idea for what I want to call my ebook. And
Mhm.
it's Decode the Future, a beginner's guide to AI, blockchain, and cryptocurrency, which I think is quite long. So at some point this weekend, I'm going to grab a glass of wine and go and ask ChatGPT,
Yeah.
here's the name of my book, because this is what I'm thinking of doing. Give me three better options, right?
Yeah.
And it may not, but I do like that ability to brainstorm quicker. I like that. The other thing I like about AI, and I agree with you, Gabrielle, please augment our intelligence. Don't replace us.
Mhm.
Do the things that we need to do. And, for me, what really excited me when I started working on AI when I was running the IBM business at Ogilvy was what we were doing with Watson. Now, Watson, you probably saw Watson, the AI. Um,
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about it. A lot.
right.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
thing, in typical, and I love IBM, they're probably one of my favorite clients over the years. There's the commercial part of the AI that they did back then about look how cool Watson can play Jeopardy, but there was
Mhm.
so much more other AI at a deep enterprise level that they were working on that we didn't advertise because they were having they'd have billion-dollar contracts with different organizations and what was happening in the medical field I absolutely loved um, the fact that they could help with cancer, the fact that, an AI um, platform or model, especially the big boys, right? The enterprise ones, they can read 500,000 documents in no time. And
Yes.
yeah, so imagine the capability, or you look at the legal profession right now. Do you really need a paralegal anymore? Do you really need, someone to go in and find you these cases? You don't.
Yeah,
I
yeah. I
think,
can tell a personal story that I went through divorce and
oh,
I went to court and they had the conference and they had all the documentation going to mediation. Well, I just put all that conference documentation into ChatGPT and I said, give me a mediation brief. Boom, there's my mediation brief.
good for you.
Where the lawyer would trust charged me $3,000 to $5,000. I just saved myself. Now it took some tweaking because I wanted to be specific to what
Of
I
course.
wanted to really say. But and I looked at the Lord and I said, "You're being replaced by AI." And
Yeah.
she and people said, "Oh, you shouldn't have said that to her. You should have said it." And she said, "Yes, I know, but the
Well,
still stays." It was right
well,
because it's just information and documentation, and
that's
it's
it.
just packaging it in a way that meets within the parameters of what they accept. And ChatGPT does a beautiful job of that.
Yeah. And you know what the other thing I would tell your audience is, some people like one of my sisters will say, "Oh, I love chat." And I said, "Yeah, but have you tried Perplexity?" It's like, "What?" Perplexity
Mhm.
is another really good one. Have you tried Claude? I'm being very Canadian. People call it Claude, but
Okay.
and Anthropic is the company that owns Claude. The thing with Claude is it it's learning everything that's been put into it, that it's being taught and trained on, ends in October, as of October 2024. So anything current you can't do. The
Mhm.
beautiful thing is what I do, because again, to your point, um, there is a bit of trust. I don't, who's programming this? So to be fair, what I always do is I take the same query, I ask ChatGPT, I ask Perplexity, and I ask Claude.
Oh,
And,
that's a great idea.
and
Yeah.
what I do, and because it's done, you'd think, oh my goodness, that would be like going to three different libraries, Catherine, but I'm not, right? What I'm doing is I literally, by the time I get up and pour another cup of coffee, all three of them have come back and they'll say, and I might do that with my ebook title. Here's what it's about. Here's what I've come up with, and I like it. Can you tweak it? Give me three options. You, and you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And and for me, I love that. It's given me so much more time.
It
And
makes you a little bit smarter too, because you've got the information more faster and you can, assimilate it. You can brainstorm around it a little bit more. You can, whatever you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. So the
yeah,
more
for sure.
clarity you can put into it, the
Right.
more it's going to spin out,
Right.
more precise what you're looking for.
Yeah,
It's,
and you have, like, again, if you're on X, formerly Twitter or TikTok, all these people saying, oh, ever since chat came out, are you actually doing your queries properly? You should become a prompt engineer. I think that last, I mean, I could be wrong, but I haven't seen any videos about how, your prompts are wrong and you really should pay me to give you a free guide. It's like, look, speak to it. It's called, it's being trained in natural language, right?
Mhm.
Just ask it a question. Now, some of the really cute little tips that you can do is you can ask a simple question like, I'm writing a book, I'm writing an ebook, give me three titles. Well, it's going to spit out a whole pile of things. I mean, for AI, cryptocurrency, and blockchain, it'll spit out a few things. But the better the question, to your point, garbage in, garbage out, like always with
Mhm.
data, because these are data sets, right? That's
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 right. That's
that's how
right.
they're being trained.
Yeah.
So, you have to ask what I call a long tail, very long tail query. My sons laugh at me constantly. However, in the end, I always get a better result, because what I say I assume I'm talking to you, and I say,
Yeah,
hey,
exactly.
hey, Gabrielle, as a podcaster, tell me the five things that you see consistently happen when you have specific guests on your show. That's a different query than, hey, chat, tell me what some issues are with podcasts. Uh, No, it's too broad. It's going to scramble. It's going to give you answers, don't get me wrong, but it's so much better to actually say, or behave as an expert cancer researcher. Tell me if vitamin D actually helps in certain cases, and if so, which cases of cancer? That's a different question than going to Google and saying, does vitamin D cure cancer?
That's right. That's right. And the thing with and Google's getting on the bandwagon of AI because they are finding like ChatGPT or some of the other AI tools are replacing the Google searches.
100%.
Right? Because with Google, it's biased because you've got sponsored content, you've
Right.
got they're playing the SEO game, or
Yeah.
search engine optimization, in
Yep.
order to get where the AI tool doesn't have that bias.
Correct. It's not bias. Again, you have to be cognizant of who and what that organization is doing, who's
Yeah,
actually programming it, and
right.
what they want to get out of it. Like, for instance, just this week, I don't know if you heard, I was taken aback, with OpenAI, with ChatGPT, Sam Altman, who has been battling Elon Musk and even his own staff about the fact that, no, you know what? I know this started to be as a not profit, hence the name OpenAI. We're going to contribute to the world. And this was the mandate of this company when it started. And no, we're going to move into for profit, which of course made Elon Musk sue them because he was one of the founders, et cetera. Well, he's just done a 180 and he's not going to pursue profit anymore. And it's interesting because you would have to think if you were going to create this, build this, continue to build it for
Right.
profit, well,
Yeah.
how are you going to, how
There's your bias right there,
how
right?
are you going to
Because
train it?
yeah,
How are you
yeah,
going to train it?
absolutely. That's a really good point. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So it's really these are unbelievably exciting times.
yeah.
And it's been a few, like, you know, I've said I love my career. I do love my career. I am still a marketer. I still love all my former clients and what they've been doing. I follow them. I follow my former agencies. That's never going to be out of my DNA. But I do get excited when I get up in the morning and I get to my phone, my quiet time. I'm up at 5. By the time everyone rolls out of bed, it's around 7. And I've sat with my coffee and I've gone through the newsletters. Another thing I recommend for women, young men, whomever, find some really good newsletters to read on AI,
And
on blockchain,
okay, yeah.
on crypto. And some of them, are they going to be too technical and you don't like them? For sure. But again, ask AI. Say, hi,
Mhm.
assume I'm a fifth grader. Hi, AI. I'm a fifth grader. Please give me, and I'm not saying to diminish your own intelligence, but many times, to your point where you just said earlier, and I love that you said it, it makes you smarter. It does make you smarter because what happens is if I read an article and I'm thinking, what is that? I don't even know what that is. I instantly go into one of my 3 friends and say, please tell me everything about X as though you are speaking to a 5th grader. And it does. And it always gives me an analogy. Imagine you had a lemonade stand, Catherine, then this, but I love it
Yeah,
because that's where I need to go. I need to start at the basic level and then build. That's how I learn. Tell me simply, if I can't understand it simply, I may never understand it, but it's great how AI can parse it all up in a way that says, okay, yeah, here you go. Because if you say, tell me everything about X, it'll tell you everything about X, and that's not going to help me. I need
right.
to understand it. And so just how you query makes a difference. But yeah, it's true. It makes you,
Well, thank you so much, Catherine.
oh,
Is
my
there
pleasure.
anything in closing that you would give advice for women? I think we covered a lot around using using AI to be
Yeah,
able to gather information. There's a
yeah,
lot, what's surprising for me to hear that there's a lot of communities already out there
yeah,
that are helping women to get the funding for startups, is that women don't get intimidated by it. Banks aren't your only source of being able to gain that financial independence. So but also be weary about, there's, the pump and dump
yeah.
theory. So just maneuver, do your education, and there's the AI tools will help better inform you or show you the direction to become more informed. Is there anything missing or anything that you would
Um,
add to what you've already provided?
I would say educate yourself. Find find some books that are here are some recommendations. The books that I have read in the last 2 years, 3 years. I really liked Hijacking Bitcoin. It's technical, but it's eye-opening. So, all the jazz hands and all the stuff all about Bitcoin. It's like, you know what? Don't think that it is what you think it is. People have already started to take ownership of it. And that's really the thing that gets me is no. okay, BlackRock or whoever, find whoever who created you can create a mutual fund around it.
Yeah.
That's fine, but you can't own it. We don't want you to own it. We're a part of it. So educate yourself on what's happening.
You think we'll have influence on that? It's
I,
more decentralized, more of a democratic kind of approach.
I think we can influence it. Here's what's going to happen. It's already started. We talk about the web, and then we talk about Web 2.0, and then Web 3. We are at the beginning of Web 3, and that's where all these decentralized autonomous organizations are living, like SheFi, like I said. It's happening. So, for instance, you can go onto YouTube that Google owns, and you can have, your own little YouTube channel, et cetera, et cetera. But and they'll pay you. That's fine. But they own everything you've just put out there.
That's right.
On the flip side, in Web 3, where AI and blockchain and cryptocurrency are all evolving, they're converging right now. All of those on Web 3, you own them. You own whatever it is that you have either created in that space, supported in that space, or bought in that space. It's different. And I would imagine, companies are going to try to just, pump the brakes on it. But guess what? When they talked about Web 2.0, and it's not just reading now on the internet and learning, you get to engage. Sure you do, sure, like service. And it's not, but look where we are. Look where we are. It's going to happen. And so that's why I want people to engage. Go to here in Toronto next week is the Futurist Blockchain event. It's not very expensive. Go and listen to a bunch of people. Last year, a major Japanese company launched a Japanese currency. So now Japan has its currency, but it also has this one. It was a huge launch last year. It's not going to stop. So the only way can you influence? The only way you can influence it is to participate in it. And we need volume. We need more people engaged and questioning and educating themselves. So that's what I would say. Educate.
It's a journey. It's a journey.
It is.
There's going to be some obstacles along the way.
Yeah.
It's difficult with it. I think, with AI, it's creating this huge other level of growth that we had not, exponential growth, where as humans, we're not always as fast to change, but we can be great innovators as well. So it'll be interesting to see where we're going to be in 5 years. It's almost hard to predict because of the exponential growth that we're going through in our world on a global scale. So it's exciting, but
yeah. Well, if your audience at any point, I know I talked about different books or different things. I'm happy to share what I have read. Your audience can email me, or if you want to email me, you can email me directly at admomofficial@gmail.com. And I will be happy to give you the authors and the books that I've read that helped me, have educated me, have made me say, oh, I so get it now. There's a bunch of stuff out there, but don't waste your time. I'm happy to share the books that I've read.
Okay. Well, I'll put it down in the chat as well. And this podcast is distributed through Spotify as well as Apple and iHeartRadio. It's about 7-8 platforms that it gets distributed. So we'll make sure it is available for you. So thank you so much, Katherine, again, for being a guest on Jump Into It. Our next show will have another fabulous guest whose journey is sure to inspire us. To learn more about Jump Into It, visit our Facebook page, subscribe to our Instagram, our YouTube channel. You can also listen to Jump Into It, as I said, podcast on your favorite platform, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, to name a few. With the courage and knowledge to bring your ideas to life, be ready to jump into it. Thank you for listening. At Jump Into It, we empower business owners, marketers, and entrepreneurs to turn their dreams into reality. Want to supercharge your marketing efforts? Join our expert-led training at 360integralmarketing.com and get practical tools you can use right away. Don't miss out. Get ready to jump into it.